The trick to a good tiny house is to not make it feel tiny. And skylights are very key into really opening up the space. From the get-go, I knew I wanted skylights because not only would it open the space, but it would bring in a lot of natural light. In my designs, I have 2 skylights that go over the living room kitchen area, and this is how I installed them. First, I had to purchase the windows. My designs called for 37.5 by 37.5 rough-ins, so I ordered those through Home Depot with the Velux brand because that's what the designer used to measure it. I just thought it would be safer. I opted to get skylights that don't open, 1 because it's cheaper, but 2, also I know who I am, and as much as I would like to be the girly who opens her windows all the time, in reality, I'm not. So I decided to save that money for something else versus who I wish I would be, knowing I would never open the windows because they're all the way up there. I also got the Velux flashing kits to go along with them. Shout out to Jody from Home Depot because she helped me 100% in making sure I ordered the right things. Next, we had to prepare for installation. So when we sheathed over the roofing frame, we glossed right over the skylight rough-ins because it was just easier to add plywood that way. So what we did to cut out the plywood was from the inside, we had a zippy saw that we used to poke through the corners. And then on top of the roof, we used a level to draw lines so that we knew where the frame was. Doug volunteered and took charge of using a skill saw to cut out the opening. The skill saw to me is the scariest power tool alive, so I was not all about that. And the roof pitch is like 8/12 for that part of the roof, so I'm very grateful that I have such amazing friends. So skylights are a bit different than windows in the sense that a window sits within your frame that you rough out, but skylights actually go on top of it, and because gravity.
Ah, gravity, thou art a heartless bitch.
They need a box to go on top of. So we had to build these boxes out of 2x4s, just a very basic box, and then we also drilled in pocket holes so that we would have something to screw into the roof. Doug and Phil, the precision masters, placed the box on top of the roof to make sure it was straight. They also had a really brilliant idea of using pieces of wood and clamps clamped into the rough-in so that the box had something to rest on, and then they can keep it and control it better when they were screwing it in. Then we had to install the flashing kit. So the flashing kit was a modular flashing kit to make up for many different sizes of windows. I mentioned the 2x4 box we made. It could have been a 2x6 box. So every single piece of the flashing had to be, there was like a perforated edge that I had to bend off, and then the front and top were more of a rounded ends. And those were a bit harder to get that perforated edge off, I think because of all the different curves and bends of the metal. So just if you're doing this, heads up, you may need metal cutters, while with the other pieces, it was just a quick, just bent and it came off. As I was getting these pieces ready, I would hand them off to Phil, who would hand them off to Doug, who would nail them in with roofing nails. And the way we did the nail is have it high enough so that the skylight, once it rested on top, would hide that nail. Finally, once we got all of the flashing in place and nailed in, we got to put in the skylight. The skylight was surprisingly light, so I was able to hoist it up and get it to Doug and Phil on the roof, and then we made sure it was centered. I ran inside on a ladder to make sure that it looked good inside. We had similar rolls as we did when we put in the windows. The window came with screws so that you could screw the skylight in place against the flashing in the box. I feel like with many of these projects, the first time we do something, it's a lot of us kind of figuring things out along the way. And so it took a day to do one skylight, and then it took the evening after a work day to do the second skylight. We just knew boom, boom, boom exactly what to do. So that was really cool, and it went along way faster for the second light. It's crazy how much light these skylights add. It is like a whole different house with them in. Adding the windows already added a lot of openness and airiness to the house feel, but these skylights just do something extra. I don't know what it is about looking up and seeing the sky through the window versus just out through a regular window, but it really is something else, and I am so excited that they were part of the design and that I decided to put them in. I absolutely love them. So I'm curious, what do you think about skylights? If you had a tiny house, would you include skylights? And would you include them in the same place I did, or would you put them somewhere else? I'd love to hear all about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button and like this video to continue following my journey as I build my own tiny house. If you're interested in watching more, check out this video where I install the metal siding that's batten board style to the tiny house itself. Till next time, bye.